Hey, everybody. Happy Friday, and thank you for joining us on this WLBT Digital News Desk update for November 7th. Hard to believe we've already been a week into the month of November. Hope that you're having a wonderful Friday. Got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We've got some breaking news for you as well. First, we want to say a quick shout out and hello to Melissa Price, who says, hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Melissa, I hope you're having a wonderful Friday as well. We are almost to the weekend, and we've got a lot of stuff to get to. We got some breaking news that actually we just learned about maybe, goodness, an hour ago. It's that, and sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. But we want to tell you about this. Essentially, at this point, what we know is that there have been 4 people arrested and charged in connection with a 2023 shooting death at Jackson State. The Bureau of Investigation for the state of Mississippi made the announcement about an hour ago. Now, those arrests are for these 4 individuals: Marquise Scales, Zequa Amos, Jamison Kelly Jr., and Alicia Brown. Now, if you are familiar with this case, there's a lot to get to. I want to get through what we know at this point. These arrests are all connected to the killing of Jalen Burns 2 years ago. Amos and Scales are actually being charged with murder. Brown is being charged with accessory after the fact and hindering prosecution. Kelly is charged with accessory after the fact. Now, Kelly had actually been charged 2 years ago, or arrested and charged 2 years ago. But at the time, the judge actually decided that, or determined there was not enough evidence to hold him. You're also seeing Joshua Brown on your screen here as well. Joshua had been arrested in 2023 and was considered the prime suspect. But a 3-on-your-side investigation showed that Brown was more than an hour away at the time of the shooting, and his charges were later dismissed due to a lack of evidence. So, again, there are a lot of moving parts here. There had been virtually no movement on the case, no visible movement that we could tell after those 2 individuals were arrested for the killing of Jalen Burns in 2023, Jamison Kelly Jr. and Joshua Brown. After our investigation, our own Brendan Hall, who was here, who did some phenomenal work on that story, as well as Holly Embry, our colleagues here who were investigating that, and they determined through cell phone evidence that Brown was actually an hour away when the killing happened. Well, then it looked really bad for JSU police that actually had said that this is what happened here. It turns out that information was not accurate, at least in terms of Joshua Brown, and his charges were dismissed. And then, of course, charges were dropped against Jamison Kelly. All this taking place in Hinds County Judge Johnny McDaniel's courtroom. And so now we have Jamison Kelly being charged yet again by a different law enforcement agency. We're going to find out over the course of, once these individuals are indicted. We're going to find out more about the state's case. We're going to find out whether or not there was enough evidence now to be able to go forward. And honestly, if we're able to see indictments on this case, you would at least expect that there's more evidence than we had known about before. But we're going to continue to follow that story and let you know the latest developments. The family of Jalen Burns, who has reached out to us many, many times, we've not talked to them yet about this. Of course, this news just breaking about an hour ago, but I can tell you just from talking with them personally, they were incredibly frustrated, and now they actually have some degree of resolution in that case. So that is certainly something that we're going to continue to follow in the coming days. If you live in the city of Jackson, you could soon have to pay more money on your monthly water bill. Now, Jackson Water wants to increase your rates by nearly 12%. The water company spent part of Wednesday of this week in court, and we told you about that earlier this week, but we have these a couple of investigative pieces that we've been working on, and we want to kind of show you what we've learned, some of the problems with the system, some of these things. If this rate increase is approved, that means that the average homeowner would see your water bill increase anywhere from $9 to $11 more a month. It'd be slightly higher for commercial and multifamily customers. And as you can imagine, a lot of residents are pushing back on this. This was the scene outside the federal court building on Wednesday. Some out there protesting those rate increases while the hearing took place inside. Jackson Water says the increases needed to help them stay afloat financially. As of right now, Jackson Water brings in roughly $115 million a year. The water company says it would need to bring in roughly $40 million more a year to make ends meet, and they believe that increasing water rates is the only way to make up for that shortfall. What ended up coming out of Wednesday's hearing was that the U.S. District Judge there, Henry Wingate, said that, listen, we're just going to discuss whether or not we would raise rates next week. They're going to have a hearing next week to talk about some of the things from this update. He did not give any kind of an indication how he would rule, or there's also the chance that he may not even decide to raise rates next week. Wingate's hesitation had stemmed from some other things involving the city of Jackson. A Siemens settlement. You may remember some Siemens water meters that a lot of residents had. And of course, the city of Jackson sued Siemens because those meters resulted in a lot of faulty bills. The city of Jackson got a settlement for that. Wingate, the judge, the federal judge, wants to know where that money went to. And he hasn't been getting answers on that. And he had been putting off raising water rates until he knew where all that money had gone. Well, Hennepin, the third-party administrator of Jackson Water, Ted Hennepin, wanted to raise rates anyway, and that prompted this hearing this week. So a lot of moving parts, and this war of words over raising rates may determine Jackson Water's bottom line, but does little to reassure customers who are already in the negative tens of thousands of dollars for bills they still say are not accurate. To add insult to injury here, there's no way to appeal if you have a bill you think is inaccurate. And our investigation finds that many are ironically in the same position or same place as their water provider. They're basically at this point drowning in debt.
Do I go begging to my neighbors? Can you run a hose over my house so I can fill up a bunch of bottles of water so I can flush my toilet?
Richard Laswell doesn't know what he's going to do now that his water's been cut off yet again.
How does that make a person feel? I mean, it's just insane.
Jackson Water disconnected his water in mid-September, even though he had been doing what they asked him to do, paying his current charges every month while his bill was under review. That bill, $31,000, which he disputes. The company restored his water after Three on Your Side started asking questions, then took $28,000 off his bill. But his water got shut off again in October.
And I don't have that money any more than I had $31,000. My monthly income is approximately $3,000 a month.
Some months I miss getting my medication to try to pay something on the water bill. I don't have money to pay like they want me to pay. I pay something every month.
Jacqueline Archie doesn't understand the ebb and flow of her ever-changing bill.
1 month it may say I use $500 worth of water. The next month it says I use $100 worth of water. Now my bill has fluctuated to the fact that it's $4,000.
Jackson Water told Kim Hinton she owed tens of thousands from a leak too, and cut her water off last month. The company even claimed she used 29,000 gallons in 1 month. That's enough water to fill a bathtub nearly 600 times. But when her plumber and Jackson Water's own contractors tried to find that leak, they couldn't. She says the utility then accused her of wrongdoing.
I know she fixed that leak before we got there, and that is a lie. They're grasping for anything to try to stick me with this.
Jackson Water only recently gave her records showing she had a leak that started 2 years ago.
And I'm like, you had all this in front of you. You never once called me, but there's no leak. And it happened right after they put their new meters in.
It took getting a state lawmaker involved to get her water back on.
I'm very concerned, in particular with the customer service at Jackson Water. I have several constituents right now that are experiencing inaccurate billings.
Around a dozen, Representative Fabian Nelson says, the worst case, a single mother with a water bill of 70 grand.
She wanted a plumber to come and look at it to see if she actually had a leak. And they told her that in order to get the lock removed, it would be $25,000.
That customer's water was also shut off, but Ted Hennepin, the interim third-party manager of Jackson Water, says that's not reflective of everyone in the city.
Talk to residents, 2 of them. Come on now, Anthony. What I just said, we have 60,000 customers, we serve about 150,000 people, but you got a representative sample of 2.
Hennepin floated this example. If 99.9% of those customers' bills are perfect, that leaves 60 that aren't.
If 60 different people came to city council and filled the chambers up, all with billing issues, city would think, oh my gosh, the world's coming to an end.
But it's not clear how many customer accounts have billing issues. Jackson Water has never released that information publicly.
Every single person that's reached out to me has said the same exact thing. My bill is inaccurate. I cannot afford to pay it. I've reached out to Jackson Water. They told me that I have a massive leak on my property.
If people feel that they have an atrocious and unfair bill that may not even be accurate, there ought to be an appeals process, and we don't have that.
Right now, Jackson Water collects on about 71% of its customers. Said another way, for every dollar it spends, Jackson Water gets 71 cents back. Hennepin says even if that rate was 100%, it wouldn't be enough to cover the debt service costs. Jackson Mayor John Horn disclosed a few weeks ago that the city actually paid Jackson Water's debt service payment to keep it from defaulting. That's the main crux behind Hennepin's desire to raise rates.
If people don't want water, we probably don't need to do a rate increase, and we can go right back to where we were in 2021, where it's boil water notices for most of the year, and you might or might not have pressure when you wake up in the morning, and some people can take showers and some can't.
But for the customers who talk to us, new rates aren't the problem. It's inaccurate billing and water cutoffs with little room for resolution. Even Laswell's $3,100 bill is rough for someone on a fixed income.
I can't afford probably more than $25 or $30 a month, which means for $3,000, that's going to be several years at least. I'd really like to start with a clean slate.
Now, again, just a couple of notes about that first piece. We want to tell you that Mayor John Horn told lawmakers last month more needs to be done to address customer concerns, including the ability to have in-person meetings and not take calls on the phone. Starting this month, Jackson Water opened up its first office at the Jackson Medical Mall to be able to accept appointments in person since taking over the water system 3 years ago. Now, our second part delves into a little something different. The fact that, and you may not know this, when we were going into this investigation and talking with Hennepin and doing some digging here, there were a lot of things that had not been reported previously. Whether you like Jackson Water or not, depends on whether you faced an outrageous bill or had a bad experience on the phone. But those systems, billing systems, are notoriously fraught with headaches for most water operators, especially since Jackson's residents have had those issues through at least the last 4 or 5 mayors. But what you may not know is that Hennepin, the head of Jackson Water, never wanted to be in charge of the billing system. He even called it a nightmare. But one councilman forced that on him. Now we're going to give you the rest of the story in part 2 of Drowning in Debt.
The challenge in Jackson is the tradition. We've almost got at least a decade of failed meter system, failed billing system in many ways, and people getting into a habit of not paying bills.
Think of those water bills as the agency's report card, where trust is either built or broken each month. It's a problem far more complex than failing pipes and low water pressure, and it's why interim third-party manager Ted Hennepin wanted no part of it. He said so during a Jackson City Council meeting in November 2022.
This is months of work. It's avoiding a major lawsuit, United States versus City of Jackson. Everybody's pretty excited about trying to figure out how to make this work. Get in front of the city council, and we'll go through a number of questions and answers.
That morning, only 4 of the city's 7 council members were in attendance.
And then Ashby Foote, who was president of the council at the time, said, well, why isn't the billing system in there? EPA and Tory and others explained that this was all about the emergency to get the water fixed.
Ashby Foote, who represents Ward 1, drew a line in the sand. Hennepin says Foote told them all that if billing isn't included, he's going to leave. And he did, leaving the council without a quorum, which means no way to approve anything. Tory Martin, city attorney at the time, went to talk to Foote in his office. Then everybody else joined.
The only way to move the order forward and get it in front of council that morning was to agree to put the billing system in. And they were, handwriting the language that was going to go in the order. And I said, well, if that's the way it's got to be, I was not a happy camper.
One man on the city council forced the issue, and that's why Jackson Water has been in charge of billing for the last 3 years. Foote told 3 on Your Side it was the right decision.
I didn't think the city would succeed at being able to turn around the billing system. We've been working on it since I came on the council 8 years prior, and we'd been unsuccessful. We didn't have the willingness or the appetite to go out and turn people's water off and hold people accountable for, paying their bill.
10 years ago, the city's collection rate was 72%, according to Foote. It's a little less than that now, according to numbers from Jackson Water. Even if the entity collected nearly 100%, that would only bring in enough revenue to offset operational costs, not the millions of dollars in debt service that still have to be paid. Now, public perception of Jackson Water appears to be a mixed bag. Residents and community leaders praised Hennepin's infrastructure work, but criticized the billing system.
We're getting beat up a lot by state reps and council people and others that say, this bill's got to be wrong. Can't you just adjust it? We don't do that for anybody. One, it's not legal in Mississippi, and we're not going to do that. And 2, we're treating everybody the same way, whether they're an elected official, whether they're, someone's grandmother in a small house, elderly have to pay their water bills.
One of those state representatives, Fabian Nelson, got his first water bill from Jackson Water 2 years after he signed up. Nelson had several questions for Hennepin, but the water manager skipped out on a House Select Committee for Capital City Revitalization meeting because of a travel conflict.
There's no way possible that we should have all these people with these extremely high water bills. I would like to see a policy put in place with Jackson Water where they're investigating. So when you have high water bills, they should have a team and say, hey, we're going to come out and we're going to investigate and figure out what really is going on.
Nelson says he intervened on behalf of nearly a dozen people who said they had high water bills, tens of thousands of dollars, because Jackson Water claimed there were leaks on their property. But contractors never found any leaks there. Those ongoing billing issues and Jackson Water's lackluster collection rate are just some of the reasons why U.S. District Judge Henry Wingate has yet to give in to a water rate increase. Most recently, Hennepin decided to raise water rates anyway, without Wingate's blessing.
The water utility needs to stand on its own. The people using water need to pay their fair share, and this utility needs to be able to go forward financially sustainable on its own. It doesn't need to be waiting for handouts from the city, from the state, or from the federal government.
Now, Hennepin tells us most customers do get regular statements, and those who are shut off fall into one of 2 categories. They don't have accounts and get water illegally, or they do have accounts and haven't paid in at least a few months. He also admits there are flaws in the system, but believes most of those are because of human error. We have one more story we want to tell you about, and it's because we always like to end on a high note, and I think that we're going to be ending on a very high note today. First off, Jennifer Chapman Newell saying hello. Hey, Jennifer, hope you're doing well. And Britt saying, hey, everyone. Britt, I hope you're doing well, too. the National Folk Festival, starting in a number of hours today. Several, it'll start, I think the first acts are around 6 p.m. That is a huge deal. Not since Jubilee Jam, years and years ago in downtown Jackson, if we had a 3-day music event. And so there's a lot going on. We have right now on WLBT.com and an idea of these road closures that are going to be all through downtown. You've got 6 different stages, 300 artists all this week. As you can see, portions of State Street right now, and for the last couple of days, closed off. One of the main stages there is at State and Capitol. So if you're, driving through State Street and going to be crossing downtown, yeah, you're going to need to find a way around that because you're not going to be able to get through. Portions of East Capitol closed off. Some of these streets that cross Capitol Street, like Congress, West, Lamar, also closed off. There's another stage down there, not far from Union Station, but just past Lamar Street. And so you can see some of the stages there. There's a stage over at Smith Park. There's also a Welcome to Jackson Dance Pavilion that's over by the Welcome to Jackson mural. So you've got a lot going on. There's also a stage set up really close to the Old Capitol Inn, or not Old Capitol Inn, Old Capitol Museum to the left of that if you're looking at it from that area. So we have all that information right now on WLBT.com. So you can go there and check it out. Also, too, don't forget that all of these different acts, we got a full listing of all of that on the National Folk Festival's website. And yeah, sure, we'll go to it live right now. So this is going to be in the city of Jackson for the next 3 years. This is the first year it's being held here in the city of Jackson. But all you have to do is you go to the website and look at all the different types of music that are being presented. So people think folk and they just think like rockabilly and stuff like that. It's a whole lot more than that. You've got different types of West African, East Asian. You've got some Native American. You've got hip hop. You've got R&B, jazz. You've got Zydeco music. There's all kinds of stuff happening. And again, in terms of the map, I mean, we've got a lot. Let's see. Several stages. Let's see. There's the schedule. And look at all this. You got Bobby Rush tonight, Mississippi's Own. You've got Zydeco dance lessons tonight. You've got all kinds of stuff going on tomorrow. I mean, you've got a ton of artists. Look at all this and the different types of music that are being represented here. So as a little something for everybody. There is a chance for rain, but what we're hearing are those chances have diminished, and our First Alert Weather Team is saying that it might be isolated at most, but of course you're going to have them, they're going to be in here at 2:30 to kind of give you an idea of that, and they're definitely going to be helping you with that forecast. So a lot of stuff going on this weekend, a huge deal. And most importantly, didn't mean to bury the lead here, National Folk Festival is free to attend. So you don't have to worry about that if you're looking for something for your family. There are going to be lots of security precautions. So, things are going to be safe downtown. So seriously, if you're thinking of something that you want to do this weekend, the weather looks like it's going to hold out, and it looks like it's going to be an amazing time in downtown Jackson. Sheikah Hampton saying, hey, everyone, with a ton of hearts and, a bunch of different heart-related emojis. I love the variety. Thank you, Sheikah, for that. And listen, that is the end of our show today. I know it's a little crazy. We had some breaking news. We had some investigative stuff that we had done earlier this week to kind of let you see a little insight into the city's water system as being run by Jackson Water and what's the latest with that and whether or not we might see a rate increase. We'll know more next week. We also talked about, of course, the National Folk Festival and some of the good events that are happening here in Jackson. But we hope that you have a great rest of your Friday. Plenty of stuff to do this weekend for everyone here at WLBT News. I'm CJ Lemaster, your chief investigative reporter for the station, and also your host for the digital news desk here on WLBT Plus. For the latest news, weather, and sports, check out WLBT.com. Before we let you go, we're going to give you a word from our sponsor, Jackson Water.
From Jackson Water, is it okay to pour fats, oils, and greases down the drain if I run hot water?
No!
What if I run the garbage disposal?
No!
How about if I use dish soap at the same time?
No!
Instead, hang on to a few containers to store and toss old cooking fat and grease once you're done. Jackson Water. Water for all the time.